Stories about books. Hold on. All right, let's do this.
Now, why are you doing that, Nate?
It's been a long day at work, Ben. I'm kicking back with a lukewarm sparkling blackberry juice.
I was gonna say I've got a sparkling orange puller. I also have some unsweet tea. So, yeah, I'm
shit.
Ben. You're Nate. And today we're finishing off our gift giving episodes where I read the book you gave me last Christmas, which was Pendragon, Journal of an Adventure Through Time and Space, Book 1, The Merchant of Death.
Wait, is that what the book series is called? I thought it was just Pendragon. Is it really the Journey Through Adventures of Time and Space?
I am looking at the
Oh my
cover
god, I never
as
knew
we
that.
speak.
So I can tell you my little bit with this book, because I didn't read this recently because I didn't have to. I wasn't required by our contract or by Jesus. Jesus himself didn't come down to make me read this book or to make Joe Biden step down. So
he's working on it.
I did.
They gave him another week.
He's
they gave him another week.
On it.
I'm gonna see if JC can talk him out of this.
Yeah, I think I was probably in like 8th grade.
That's probably the right age.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably the right age. Maybe it was 9th grade, early 9th grade, late 8th grade, somewhere in there. And my friend had read like the first few books, and he's like, "Hey, you have to read this one." So I did, because back then I would read things that people gave me instead of running away and then starting a podcast about books.
To read things I give you.
Exactly. So I read it. I remember liking it a lot. I remember going and buying the remaining books and tearing through them. I think there were 5 books out when I first started. The 6th book came out that summer. I read it when it was new. And then, because there were no other books, there was no momentum. And I remember I bought the 7th book a year later, I think, and just did not care. Didn't even sit down to read more than the few chapters, and completely lost all interest after that. And there are 10 books in this series.
Yeah, I got to imagine. I mean, you could tell me if I'm wrong, but I doubt it's like a Harry Potter thing where the books kind of age with the audience. Like Harry Potter starts when the kids are very young, and then each book is a year. And
yeah, he definitely gets older. By the 6th book, he starts learning martial arts, Ben. So.
Oh wow!
So he's not just going to get his ass kicked.
I feel like that maybe should have been the 2nd book.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Do you have anything more you want to say about your Pendragon journey?
I will maybe chime in from time to time from shit I remember. If I recall, first book is all right. This is okay.
Yeah, I think that's the tone I'm going to be taking as well. So this is by DJ MacHale. I don't know anything about him, and this time I also did no research. So
nice.
I read the.
It's nice, right?
Yeah,
it's real nice. You're just like, I didn't do any research. Cool.
I read the foreword, the acknowledgments. There is a point where he thanks his nephew, who he mentions by his first and last name, who was the age-appropriate test audience and presumably advised him on the language.
I heard the slang is amazing, Ben.
The slang is...
It's hip and jive, yo.
Trying to find out when this was
early
published.
2000s, I think, because I think the 5th book was out in 2005 or 6.
DJ MacHale. I gotta know. It's gonna be important. He does not look like what I expected. He just looks like a dude. It's
2002, September 2002 is when this book was published.
okay. Well, that's terrible. I was a young into the scene kid in 2002, and no one talked like this. And if you did, you would have gotten beaten up, which his nephew very well may have if he talked like this. So, Pendragon it's a magical tale, as you may have guessed from the name Pendragon. It's about Bobby Pendragon, which is like the most perhaps protagonist name I have ever encountered. Now the book begins with a little bit of like that Tarantino twist, that thing you hate. Like it begins in the middle.
Yeah, and then it
Um,
works backwards because I recall he like journaled and sent journals through a magic ring for some reason.
yeah. So
It's coming
the
back to
book
me.
the book is divided into it's an interesting framing device. It's a very interesting framing device that I think maybe fell apart on him towards the end. um so spoilers, but I guess this is not a spoiler because it happens in the first chapter. Bobby is going to get sucked into another world, Alice in Wonderland style. I don't
Gasp.
want to hear anything from anyone about how
What
this
is it
may or may
called?
not
A
be an isekai.
flume or something? Oh
Yeah,
God.
I don't want to hear
Oh
about this being
God.
an isekai. So it's, well, though there is something later that may point to it being an isekai. We'll talk about it when we get there. So he's going to get sucked into another world, but he's got friends back in his old world, and his friends are going to get letters from him detailing his adventures for some reason.
Yeah. For some reason, that is
There's
something
gonna
I'm not entirely sure about either.
there's gonna be a lot of for some reason, and this is gonna tie into my main criticism of the book as we go throughout. Is
That
that
was the way it was meant to be. I'm pretty sure he says that a bunch of times. His uncle, right?
the book is like maybe 45% exposition, if not more, and yet I know so very little about how anything works or why we're doing it.
Well, you have to read the next 9 books, apparently,
I'm
Ben.
definitely not going to be doing that. To be fair, the other thing we talked about a little is this is a middle grade book. This is not meant for an adult to read. Though I question if it's what children are going to relate to this. So Bobby Pendragon, he's the first chapter is one of his journals that he has sent through time and space to his friend Mark, and he's going to explain like the I bet you're wondering how I got here, and this kid talks like Ferris Bueller or Zach Morris, like one of
That
those
checks out.
80s 90s protagonists who speaks directly to the camera like Deadpool style, breaking the fourth wall.
Are
He
you
doesn't break.
saying this maybe is a little like not 2002
It's a
lingo?
little yeah, it's definitely somebody who last checked in with the youth a little earlier than 2002.
With
Um
the youth.
yeah. Uh
Okay.
he doesn't break the fourth wall, but he often like adds way too much commentary on his own thoughts.
Well, he's
I'll give
supposed to
you
journal, Ben. That's what you
yeah.
do with a journal that you're
No,
sending to someone else. You don't omit all the like embarrassing parts, you know?
okay, I'll read you a little excerpt here. You see, two things happened yesterday that changed my life forever. The first was that I finally kissed Courtney Chetwynd. Yes, the Courtney Chetwynd.
The Courtney Chetwynd?
The Courtney Chetwynd
Oh
of
my
the,
god.
and this is all hyphenated, bites her lower lip when she's thinking, stares right into your heart with her deep gray eyes, looks
Oh god.
unbelievable in her volleyball
Oh
uniform,
god.
and always smells a
Oh
little like
god.
Rose's
Oh
fame.
god. Oh god. Yeah, I think if this is something that's meant to be read by people who aren't you, you just like you cut that part.
Yeah, I
You
kissed
cut
her.
that.
It was a long time coming, and it finally happened. Woohoo. The second thing is that I was launched through a wormhole called a flume and got jacked across the universe to a medieval planet called Denderon that's in the middle of a violent civil war. But back to Courtney. That's kind of the tone of the
Nice.
book.
I mean, you know, he's a teen. I hope I remember that correctly. So
yes,
like,
he's
where are you gonna focus on, right? The Civil War, or like you finally kiss the girl, you know?
So, yeah, the first chapter begins with him explaining how he's an
Oh yeah, he's 14.
insufferable little bastard who has had everything handed to him on a silver spoon. He has never had to try. He's just very talented at sports, school, popular.
I don't remember that.
He's just the best.
I
He's
do
just the
remember
best
Mark
boy
is
that
like the
ever boyed.
opposite. Mark's a fucking loser child who
Yeah,
needs to be beaten up and stuffed into a locker.
Mark is a nerd. But his biggest redeeming quality is that he's best friends with Bobby, and
Yeah.
he
Bobby's
mooches off.
awesome.
He rides Bobby's coattails, you know. Bobby seems like a nice kid. It's just like he's never had to try. He seems like it's like pretty privilege.
Yeah,
Like
if it helps, I think the next 5 books he gets his ass kicked repeatedly. Actually, does he get his ass kicked in this book?
he gets his ass kicked in this book.
Okay, perfect.
He's only cool in our world. This is kind of a reverse isekai in that way. He's, you know, how most isekai are about some like horrible loser getting put into another world where the things that make them a loser here make them special there. This is kind of the opposite of that. The things that make him special here are completely not valuable where he goes.
Be like, you want to see this sick layup? And I'll be like, I'll fucking stab you with this spear if you do that.
Yeah, it's like being a book podcaster / programmer and then being sent back to a medieval time to help them with their civil war. It's like, you know, this functions a lot less like StarCraft.
You want a piece of me,
I was
boy?
initially led to believe, and I don't know if I'm the guy. But we'll get to
I
that.
am willing to be in the rear with the gear while you guys murder each other. Tell me when it's done. Okay, bye.
So the day's starting off even better than Bobby's average day, which usually starts with him waking up in his giant suburban house in Connecticut, right outside of New York City, very expensive real estate, and his loving parents make him breakfast and give him a ride to school in their Jaguar, and he goes on to, you know, just talk to all his friends and score the winning point at the basketball game. But he doesn't do that today, because today he got smooched by Courtney Chetwynd. And that all happened. So like he's sitting in his house, he's getting ready to go win another basketball game. I'm not jealous, by the way. Like,
yeah, I never said you were, Ben. I
no,
don't know where you got
I'm
that
not.
from.
Like, there's no, that's not what this is. It's not that like I wish I had his life. It's just that like he doesn't deserve it. Anyway.
All right.
So he's sitting there. He's getting ready to go win another basketball game. He's playing with his dog. They got him a dog. It's probably a great dog. I don't even know. And I got a cat. Like, I got 2 cats.
I'm not jealous. I'm just
not,
pointing it out. You know, I've got a cat. He's got a dog. I'm just, you know, throwing it out there. I'm not comparing.
Yeah, it's just everything he
right?
has is like one better than mine. So
14-year-old little shit.
But he has challenges in his life too. Like sometimes his childhood best friend, who happens to be the most athletic, prettiest, smartest girl at school, rings his doorbell, and was like, Bobby, I've always loved you. And now I want to show it. And then they start making out.
That's tough, man.
Yeah.
I
What
wouldn't
do you,
know. I wouldn't know that experience, but it sounds tough, you know?
I mean, I got to imagine that was really hard for him. He's just sitting there thinking about how he's going to try to win the big game. And then he's just got like the girl of his dreams macking on him. Like, how am I going to win the game now? But then something even worse happens to Bobby. His cool motorcycle riding uncle, who has always like showed up to his birthday parties and given him like lavish gifts, and he's just real mysterious and weird. And like the one time he brought this lady along who she was kind of weird. Like she looked like an Olympic athlete. Everybody looks like an Olympic athlete except Bobby, which is the one nice thing. Bobby doesn't look like an Olympic athlete.
Yeah, he's not there yet. You can give him like 4 years, he'll be ready for the gold medal.
So Bobby, he's macking on Courtney Chetwin when his uncle Press shows up, and Press walks in and he's like, Bobby, I've got extra special news. I see you're macking on Courtney Chetwind. Nice. I know you're the most popular boy in school. I know you're rich. I know you play sports. And I know you just got the girl of your dreams. But Bobby, you're also the chosen one. So I'm going to need you to get Courtney Chetwind out of here.
Yeah, Harry Potter at least had the decency to suffer for 12 years first.
Thank you,
right?
Yeah. He was at least an abused orphan. So I was kind of on his side when good things started happening to him. So he's like, I need you to get Courtney Chetwind out of here. Courtney, go. There'll be time for this later, maybe. And he's like, Bobby, I need you to come with me to the slums of New York City. There's people who need our help. And Bobby's like, what? No, I've got a game.
I've got the game.
I've got the game. And the Chetwind, which, by the way, nice, right? Like, come on, man. And his uncle's like, that is indeed nice. She's quite pretty. They talk about that for a little bit. And then
this was before you could get canceled for that kind of thing, you know?
I actually will give this guy this. It doesn't go there. Like Bobby's a little bit of a.
This isn't I distinctly remember it's nothing like what's his nuts? Not Brandon Sandelman.
No, not him.
Brian.
Oh, Brian Powder Mage.
Yeah, the Powder Mage guy, where suddenly the daughter person is 18.
No. There's no age inappropriate stuff.
Yeah, I don't remember anything like that.
They only kiss. Bobby's very into the kiss, but it's kind of like that cutesy first kiss, like first real kiss kind of thing, where he's like, he's nervous, she's nervous. It's fine. It's age appropriate stuff. It's something like a middle grader might be dealing with.
And later on, he's going to have to deal with the hardest thing of all, Ben, and that's having two girls interested in you. I don't think that's this book. I'm not sure.
It starts in this book.
Yeah, okay.
It starts in this book.
Because I remember she is in this book, but she doesn't show up for like the next 4 books.
No, there's definitely a little cat fighting going on. Though, like, I kind of wonder, like, what's we'll get to it. I'm like, what's the future here for Courtney? Like, but how you realistic? Are you going to be pen pals? One way pen pals? Like,
I don't know for sure, but I could take a guess. We can do it at the end.
Okay, so he decides to go with his uncle. His uncle has a really cool motorcycle. So they motorcycle into New York, right? And then his uncle is being really, really vague about everything. Like Bobby's like, okay, uncle, I've agreed to blow off my game. My family has no idea where I am. It's 2002. We don't have cell phones.
I don't think the Amber Alert is gonna
Yeah.
go out.
So like
Where are we
you're
going,
you're
Uncle? Well,
taking
I'm just
me
gonna abandon you in New York and
yeah,
drive away.
like you're taking me into the human trafficking part of town, and I'm
Yeah.
kind of wondering like who needed our help again? Like are you taking me to where the puppy is? Like is this do you have candy?
Is there perhaps an underground game of basketball that I need to win in order to save the
Yeah.
neighborhood?
Well, you're probably not going to win a game of basketball where you're going. So they get to this abandoned subway station.
I remember this because he was really
And
concerned about stepping on the third line and electrocuting himself.
yeah, he's like, we got to watch out for quigs. And Bobby's like, what are quigs? And he's like, you'll figure it out, man. Don't worry.
Stop asking questions.
You'll know a quig when you see one. And then when they're down there, they see this homeless guy. The homeless guy is getting a little rowdy. Then a cop shows up. The cop is specifically dressed in a brown uniform, like he's Andy Griffith, which I was going to make fun of until I realized that's the tell. This isn't a real cop.
I think the tell is that it's an abandoned subway and there shouldn't be people down here. But
No, this isn't a real cop. So it's the cop pulls out his gun, and then Press pulls out his gun. And Bobby's like, what the fuck is going on? And Press is like, look, there's going to be, you got to go into the subway tunnel. I know it's an active subway tunnel. Trains come through here. So I'm going to need you to get on the tracks, get all the way on the tracks. And then find a door with a star drawn on it and go into that door and shout Denderon. And for the love of God, Bobby, I'm telling you, do not even fuck with this. Watch out for quigs. Bobby's like, what is a quig? What is going on? And Press is like, does anyone ever tell you talk too fucking much, Bobby? Get the fuck out of here.
You talk too much. Never shut up. I said you talk too much. Oh boy, you never shut up.
And so Press is like, the cops in this city wear blue. And the cop smiles and kills the homeless man and is like, well, shit. And he
that was damn.
no, I'm paraphrasing, Nate. I'm summarizing. And so he drops his disguise, and he's actually a 7-foot tall Voldemort looking thing named Saint Dane.
Yeah, I remember him being really tall, and he had icy blue eyes. And did he have like long Sephiroth hair? I can't remember that part. Yeah.
Yes, no, you're right. He looks like Sephiroth. Let's go with that. He looks like Sephiroth. Everybody picture that every time I mention Saint Dane. And so the one winged angel starts blasting, right? And then Press starts blasting. And Bobby's running, and like
Bobby's running towards that basketball goal somewhere further in.
Yeah, he's running towards that basketball end zone to try to make par. And they're blasting, and a bullet whizzes past Bobby's head and smacks into a pillar and sprays plaster or tile or whatever. You gotta edit that out. So Bobby's running. He jumps on the track. And when he jumps on the track, there's a bunch of like street dogs. And they're growling.
Are these perhaps quigs?
Well, that's when Bobby notices that they have glowing yellow eyes. And he's like, oh, this is a quig. And then the quigs try to murder him. But Bobby's running, he's running.
But he's got a basketball in his backpack that he can defend himself with?
No, he can't defend himself at all in any way, shape, or form. That's a recurring theme throughout the book. Bobby is a coward. Bobby, you've heard of the fight or flight reflex and its lesser known friend, the freeze reflex. Bobby always freezes. He has the worst instincts of
Wow.
anyone ever chosen to be a hero ever.
Wow. Maybe they should have put him in Taekwondo instead of basketball.
Maybe they shouldn't have chosen him.
Well, I mean, if
There's
you're going
got
to
to
choose
be
him,
like some Muay Thai kickboxer out there
I
who
think
probably could have
they
solved
chose
this.
him from birth or some shit. So like,
Okay,
maybe
well that's
instead
a
of
bad
basketball, yeah, that is a bad system. But if you work with what you got, sometimes that means Donald Trump and Joe Biden. So
I'm
in
not
this
doing
case,
it. You're doing it
means...
today.
Nice.
That's kind of what the people in this story are going to feel like, because Kyle Gass made a "don't miss" joke. So Bobby gets into the door and he's like, "Okay, now what was that stupid word? Dende."
It's little green or big green to you. Super Kame big green.
Dengu. Deuteronomy.
Dengar. That was the Star Wars guy, right? That's a thing.
Denderon. And he's transported to a magical land.
And he escapes the Quig that way.
He escapes the Quigs. Kind of. So this I may have gone a little like further, because what the book does initially is it's split into the journal and then Second Earth. Second Earth is real Earth, and
yes, Ben.
the journals, they go to the
First Earth is between World War I and World War II Earth, and Third Earth is sometime far into the future where AI is a thing.
It's not gonna. I wouldn't worry too much about the future. And so on Second Earth,
this was before we all knew we were fucked, Ben.
We had a pretty good feeling. This was the Bush
2002.
years. This was a post 9/11 world.
It was a post 9/11, but it was a pre-Iraq world. It was before he got on that stupid carrier, and
it was that sweet spot of wars we could kind of justify.
Yeah, there you go.
So on Second Earth, the journals are going to the loser Mark. Mark is Bobby's best friend, and he had this weird dream where this mysterious black lady showed up and gave him a ring. And now sometimes letters come out of that ring. And is reading these letters. Everybody wants to know where Bobby was. Like, why did he abandon the game?
Yeah, because of him, we didn't win the finals in the game.
Yeah, nobody cares about anything more than junior varsity basketball.
Yeah.
That's where careers are made. And then it goes back.
He could have been the next LeBron.
Goes back and forth, right? So there's a journal, there's a Second Earth chapter, there's a journal, there's a Second Earth chapter. I went through like 3 journal chapters to get him to Denderon.
Yeah,
and that's kind of the pacing's
not super great.
Yeah,
because you're like, I want to get like to the fun part, and then it's like, then Mark was going around being a Mark.
Well, so the problem is, I think what he wanted to do initially was journal, Second Earth, journal, Second Earth, journal, Second, so on and so on. That goes out the window pretty quickly, and it's just like journal 2 continued, journal 2 continued again, until we get to the end, and it's just journal 4 continued, journal 4 continued, journal 4 continued, journal 4 continued. Literally, there are 5 chapters in a row called Journal 4.
Yeah.
So Mark
was there, though.
Mark knows he can't handle this alone. And he knows...
Because he's a Mark.
He needs to try to verify something about these letters. Because what if this is just a prank? What if this magic ring...
What if someone planted a dream in my brain and then gave me a magic ring, and that's not even Bobby at the other end of the magic ring?
That's Ashton Kutcher at the other end. He's punking people. This is 2002. You know, that's before he defended Scientology. And then
What?
yeah, the guy with
What?
the guy with the curly hair from that 70s show turned out to be a
Oh, wait.
predator.
I knew that, but he's a Scientologist?
He's a big Scientologist, and so
Oh my
are the
God.
parents from that 70s show.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
I believe
you
they actually
ruined-
got him into Scientology.
Oh my God. Wow. So, well, okay.
Yeah, so I remember
guess-
hearing a story about like the last day Topher Grace was on set. He did his job, you know, they said goodbye and he just left and didn't say anything to anybody. He didn't like there was no party or anything. And they were all like, he was so weird. And I was like, maybe he was just on to you.
Yeah.
Maybe Topher
Yeah.
Grace is the only one of you that was kind of normal. That 70s show was a television program that aired around this time. I think there's that 90s show on Netflix or something now.
Which
That's sad.
Oh, there's also that 80s show.
That
which
80s show.
was one season and was canceled.
Yeah. Yeah, the themed decade shows kind of peaked with Happy Days, to be perfectly honest. But Mark figures I could verify part of the story, right? Because Courtney Chetwynd featured prominently in the first part.
Does he get a flashlight out and start shining it in her face and being like, "Did you make out with Bobby last night?"
Well, kind of, but I don't think he can reach her face.
Oh, that's
Also,
sad.
like she's way bigger than him. She
would squash him like a bug.
She plays. She's so good. Volleyball is her game. That's like her big thing, and she's so good. She plays on the men's team, and she's
There's
so
a
good.
men's volleyball team,
There is a men's. Well, yeah. I mean, there's men's volleyball. I've played volleyball,
but in
I think that was in a
like,
co-ed
high
league, though.
school.
Actually.
Yeah, in high school.
In high school,
I only knew of women's volleyball.
I don't
And
know
in
if
middle
we
school.
had a men's volleyball team. In college, we had intramural volleyball, and we did have a men's league. I don't know
but
if we
that's
had.
not high school.
No,
That's
I don't
not-
know if we
that's
had a
not
high school.
That we're gonna recruit you to be pros. You know, that's just
No.
college fucking around.
Well, they got a men's team. That's how good she is. She
Oh my God, she's so good. They had to develop a men's team in order to give her real competition.
She's so good. Their
that-
gym classes are normally divided by gender, which I've never heard of.
I have also never heard of that.
But their gym classes are divided by gender, and she takes the men's gym class.
Oh
because
my
she's
God.
so good at athletics.
And
like-
and Mark does what? He just sits out on the stand with a doctor's
that-
note.
That's my thing, and that's kind of why like I've never heard of like a gender separated gym class. Like there were definitely like I was pretty fit in high school. I did taekwondo and
Yeah, your glory days, right?
yeah, they were my glory day, really physically for sure. But I'll tell you the truth, like if we're talking like if we're playing basketball or something, like the girls from the girls basketball team are gonna kick my ass at basket. I can't fucking shoot to
Right?
save my life. So like I don't really when you're not playing competitive, I don't fully understand. But that's neither here nor there. And I do not want to get into the gendered sports debate. So
I think that we should just cancel all sports because it makes me feel inadequate.
because it makes me feel inadequate. So Mark goes and he finds Courtney. He's like, hey, personal question. Don't take this the wrong way. Did you open mouth kiss Bobby last night?
Don't take this the wrong way. Did you try to suck Bobby's face off? Just
Did you hang on, let me check my notes, Courtney. Did you give him, quote, not your average nice to see you peck on the cheek? Oh no, this was full on eyes
Good
closed.
God,
Starting with tight lips, but
Bobby.
eventually morphing into
Stop
mutual
it,
open
Bobby.
mouth probe thing that lasted for a good 30 seconds. Did you do anything like that, Courtney?
Fucking Christ. Why? He's
Courtney
writing
eventually
these
reads this
Mark.
fucking letter, so
Yeah.
yeah. Did you do anything like that, Courtney? And she's like, oh, did he brag? Did he brag? It's like, well, Yes, but he was also kidnapped. So, and that kidnapping does a lot of heavy lifting in getting him out of trouble with Courtney Chowan. So on Second Earth, they go to look. They go to see if Bobby's home. They want to see if he's in his house. See if this is all a
I
prank.
remember this part.
And they go to the house, and it's gone.
It's gone.
There's no more house.
That won't raise any eyebrows at all.
His lavish. No, and that's the other thing. People who knew them, like people's memories are not changed. People who knew the Pendragons remember the Pendragons. Presumably their neighbors remember there being a house there.
It would be a lot. It would be a lot less conspicuous if they just disappeared instead of the entire fucking house.
Like, I don't know my neighbors, but I do know if the building next to me was gone, I would notice that. But now, where the Pendragon mansion once stood,
Mansion.
there is now just an empty, vacant lot that no one's talking about.
Oh wow, foundation and everything. Yeah, you know this would immediately hit the news and people would be like, aliens. It's aliens. Aliens came here and abducted these people and took their house.
Well, funny you should mention that, because Dad Pendragon, I don't remember if he had
His
a name.
name is Zach Baggins.
He worked at the newspaper.
And no one...
But now there's no trace of any articles he ever wrote or that
What?
he ever worked there.
What? What?
Because the next thing they do...
I don't remember that part. That's a little weird.
The next thing they do is Courtney and Mark go to the cops, and they're like, we need to file a police report. The Pendragons are missing. And then
They're like, who?
This cop sitting at the front desk, he's like, Pendragon, huh? Let me just check my records of every person that's ever lived here.
He pulls out
There's
the white
no
pages.
Pendragon here. There's no Pendragon ever lived in this town. I don't know what you're talking about. Get out of here, you kids, and your pranks. And then they're sitting there reading more journals when the cop shows back up, and he's like, actually, my supervisor used to have dinner at their house, and he's very concerned about this, and he would like to talk to you.
Oh.
Yeah, and then that's when you find out, like, it's not just the kids or anything. It's like adults remember the Pendragons, and the cops do start looking for them.
Okay, so they're like, okay, it's a little weird that all of our records and also all the newspaper articles and also the house just...
No, the cop thinks that's extremely weird and immediately starts investigating it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does he ever find anything out? Because I don't think he ever finds anything out.
No, I have no idea. I've read the entire book. I have no
you just
idea.
Have to read 9 more, Ben.
Where they went, why this happened. Apparently, the very frustrating thing about this book is his uncle, if he just stopped for 2 fucking seconds and explained anything.
Absolutely not.
And it's
I don't remember him explaining anything, and then he gets gunned down at the end of the second book.
Yeah, I kept waiting for him to die, because normally when somebody's like, I'll tell you something later, and then they die immediately. It's like the first person in a horror movie to figure out who the killer is, they have to die immediately. But he doesn't die. He just keeps talking to Bobby about anything other than what's going on. And it is the most frustrating bullshit. I honestly think if I were in Bobby's situation, inept at fighting or no, I would have held a knife to press his throat and said, start talking.
If it helps too, I don't remember his parents ever coming back into the picture.
It's like they didn't exist.
Yeah.
It's like the parents were a creation of magic specifically to raise him. But Press says at the end, he's like, don't worry, you'll see them again. It's like, could you tell me what happened to them? He's like, well, you'll find that out in time. I was like, could you tell me what happened to them, Press, or I'm not going with you? He's like, get in the car, Bobby. And Bobby just gets in the car, and he's like, okay. Like, Bobby's an idiot. Bobby, like, This is actually one of the things that really bothered me about the book, because he's obviously withholding key details in an attempt to engage the reader into going to the next book. This is actually quite long for what it is.
It's like 400 pages, I think.
Yeah, it's like 400 pages. It's an easy read. I mean, it's not like a super challenging book because it's targeted. I mean, for an adult, it's a quick read.
Yeah.
I assume it's age
And
appropriate.
I bet I could dunk on you when you're 14. So, I'm a better athlete, possibly. Not me personally, actually, but
Could you run up and down the court as many times as he could?
I could run up and down the court. We'll give it 10 times. I bet I could do that.
10 times. We'll see. So I'm just sitting there like, it's very frustrating. It's actually very frustrating, and it's kind of immersion breaking that no one will tell the kids what the hell is going on, but they're also expected to prevent a civil war.
Yeah. You don't need to know what's going on to prevent a civil war.
Lincoln had no idea where he even was when he gave the Gettysburg Address. It's a happy coincidence that he called it the Gettysburg Address.
Hey, according to Crack.com, he gave the Gettysburg Address after the Battle of Antietam in 1962. Crack.com, where journalism goes to die.
So, real quick, I got to emphasize something where the slang, again, I think maybe he's punching above his weight or got some real bad advice from his nephew. Mark and Courtney are discussing their strategies. They go to Mark's room, his fortress of solitude. Mark is embarrassed at the state of his room. He says, Mark tossed his bunch of socks out of one window and quickly threw open another. Courtney surveyed the room, stopping in front of two posters on the wall. One was a colorful hentai animation superhero cartoon.
What? 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 Excuse me?
Hentai animation superhero cartoon. Mark's just got La Blue Girl hanging on his wall. He's got the worst parents in the world.
Oh God! I think maybe he meant something different.
He meant something completely different.
I did not catch that when I first read it back in the day.
I'm surprised it's still in the book. I'm surprised nobody has written to him to be like, no, Mark doesn't have a hentai animation superhero cartoon. Those words don't even make sense in that order. They don't make a lot of hentai animation superhero cartoons. And you can just say hentai animation. You don't then need to say cartoon. He had no idea what that was. And it's the only highlight I have in my book. I pretty much remember every other piece of slang I wanted to talk about, but I was like, you cannot forget that he said Mark just has straight up hentai on his wall. Hentai, for those who don't know, is cartoon porn from Japan.
Yeah.
I think maybe you could have maybe gotten away with like ecchi, but
I think he meant to say anime.
I think he meant to say anime. But then I don't know why he said superhero cartoon. I think he meant it. I don't know what he meant. I think he meant a scantily clad anime girl. and I
Or maybe
don't
it was Super Sentai, the Power Rangers. I don't know,
know
man.
because it's next to a gorgeous girl lying on a tropical beach in a leopard print thong. It's meant to imply Mark's a pervert.
Oh, Mark definitely is that. Maybe he did mean. Maybe that's exactly what he meant, Ben.
If he had a
Just-
hentai
just
animation superhero
straight
cartoon
up
on his
porn.
wall, he has the worst parents in the world. Like, son, first off, that's inappropriate. Second, I'm not going to let you do this to yourself. Because one day, somebody other than me is going to see this. And they're going to think you're a fucking loser. So let's just get rid of this, okay? And I'm blocking 4chan on the router. So I don't know if you've ever been there. That's just a preemptive thing. And you know, it's 2002. YTMND, that's off the table. Punch the Keys, for God's sake. I don't remember. That one's gone too. Nothing Sean Connery ever said are you allowed to go to. That's one for the old heads. I'm not even going to explain that to the children. You had to be there.
I don't know if you wanted to be there, but you
No.
had to be there.
You know, things are pretty bad these days, but that was a worse time. So back to the journals, right? So Bobby pops through the flume, and which I think that was even a Harry Potter thing, wasn't it? Didn't they have like flume powder or some shit?
I have no idea. I stopped reading after the third one.
I think they had it by the third one.
Well, I stopped remembering after the first one.
She
Ben.
kept coming up with new ways to do the same stuff, like she forgot about the old ways.
That's what makes it magic.
You can use a port key. You can use the flume. You can apparate. You can. There's killing curses, but nobody ever remembers they exist. And then there's when you say the killing curse, you got to mean it. That's what Tim Burton's wife said. And then so they're in Pendragon. He pops out in a cave with a box of scraps. The box of scraps turns out to be clothing. He puts them on. And then Uncle Press pops through. I guess he won his gunfight with Saint Dane. And then they get... Oh, but there's Quigs. There's Quigs. Quigs look different on every world. Forgot to mention that. Forgot to tell you what Quigs were.
I do remember that.
But Bobby, why do you keep running into Quigs? Yeah, I keep telling you need to watch out for Quigs. But the Quigs here, they're not street dogs. They're bears.
Didn't they have like giant spikes on their back?
Yeah, they're giant bear-like creatures. There's some kind of weird chimera. And they're attacking. They're attacking you. We need to go. So they get in a sled. The sled is equipped with a whistle and 2 spears. Bobby immediately...
wish we would have got guns, you know?
Well, you can't... Okay, he mentions this in passing as Bobby is being shot at, I think. You can't bring anything from our world to their world. Don't know why.
But I'm pretty sure they do that.
Yeah, they do. And then everybody gets really mad at Bobby for doing that because I told you in the middle of a gunfight not to do that. While I told you to avoid Quigs and to look for the star door and shout the word Pendragon, and then that'll transport you magically across space and time. Why, Bobby, did you not... Like, this is my manager. This is how my manager acts. My manager tells me, like, Ben, I need you to do these 16 highly specific tasks. Oh, and by the way, send an email to this one guy. And then I do 16 highly specific tasks, but I didn't send an email to that one guy. So it's like, why did you even bother living? That's how they treat Bobby. So they get on this sled. They're running from the Quigs, or they're sliding from the Quigs. And Press is like, hand me a spear. Bobby tries to hand him a spear, immediately fucks that up, drops the spear.
He's like, shoot the spear like a basket into my hands.
He's like, Bobby, hand me the other spear. Bobby's like, okay, real careful. I'm going to grab him. Both hands, 2 hands. He hands him the spear. And then he's like, Bobby, take this whistle. It's a Quig whistle. Only Quigs can hear it, and they hate it. And so Bobby's on the whistle, Press is throwing the spear, Bobby's steering the sled. He's not very good at that either. And then Press throws the spear, takes out a Quig, Bobby's blowing the whistle, blah, 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 blah. They make it down the mountain, kind of. They get to the bottom of the mountain. They barely avoid a tree stump. They try to Tokyo drift the sled, but it's not a very good sled. And they're not made to Tokyo drift. And it goes end over end, throwing them across the forest. Bobby lands in some trees. Press lands in an open field. Press is immediately taken capture by medieval knights.
Yeah, okay. I kept trying to remember, like, what did Press do this entire thing? I couldn't remember. That makes sense. He gets immediately captured, and Bobby hangs out with several other travelers for most of the book, I think.
Yeah. So meanwhile, on Second Earth, they're hanging out at Bobby's empty house, reading that crap. Colorful hentai poster. That's that chapter. And then next journal. Uncle Press is going to die tomorrow. So Bobby wakes up in a kind of hospital hut with an open toilet, just sitting right in the floor.
Nice.
Not the best hospital. I don't know if you can bring ideas from another world, but germ theory. What if we told them about it?
Or at the very least, what if we say, like, put the shit pit over there in its own separate...
Bobby literally says, like, these people haven't discovered that the outhouse should be out. And I'm trying to think of, like, a single human culture on the planet that has not figured that out.
Even Futurama said that Fry, the animals just go in the corner. They don't just shit everywhere. Yeah, the corner. Why didn't I think of that? Well,
I'm going to go one further and say, like, yeah, it literally predates humanity. I think Australopithecus had this down. So the point is, these people are kind of not
dumb.
Advanced.
Oh. Are they even worth saving from Civil War if they don't know to put their shit somewhere that isn't next to all their medical equipment?
I
remember there are two people, Ben.
Yeah, there's
and
two
the
people.
Other people are ridiculously, comically fat. Like baby fat, I think is how he kept describing it.
We'll talk about the fat people. This whole world sucks.
This whole world is garbage. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care what happens to this world. So
he maybe shouldn't have led with this world if he had ideas for other worlds.
This world sucks.
The next book is like underwater Atlantis shit. The next one is World War One, like post World War One. That was weird. And the world after that was virtual reality.
Okay, so they went to Shithole Mud Hut
first, yeah,
to really get you interested.
And the fifth book is what if animals were dominant species and people were lesser than? What if that?
Isn't that just Planet of the Apes?
Yeah, but with different animals.
Okay. So
he has to prevent a civil war there too, I think. Or an uprising or something. There's a lot of needing to prevent a major war from happening.
Well, they kind of set that up that like all the worlds are about to hit a conflict point. And
the third book is about making sure that the Hindenburg explodes.
Wow. Bold stance.
Because if it doesn't explode, Nazi Germany wins, Ben.
How could they know that?
They go to Third Earth that has a super advanced mega computer. You punch in all the data and it runs a simulation. And in every universe where the Hindenburg doesn't explode, the Nazis win, Ben.
Oh my god. You should have bought me that book. That would really give us something to talk about. So Bobby wakes up in the hospital hut with the open sewage, and he is greeted by Asa or Osa. I don't know how you would pronounce it,
Oh yeah, she's don't get attached to her.
and Lore.
And don't get attached to her because she's like very
He
unlikable for
he tries very hard to not say that they are black.
Oh, because they definitely are.
They
Is
definitely
there
no. He
a
does not want to use the word black.
That's it had to be African American, but they weren't. So we have to come up with another word for it to be PC.
This is how
Oh
he
god. Oh
he
god.
describes.
Oh god. All right.
Um.
Lay it on me.
Okay. This is how he describes Lore. I'd say she was my age, maybe a little older. She had dark skin and eyes that were so brown that they looked black. Her hair was dark too. It was tied in a long, tight braid that reached halfway down her back. She wore the same kind of weird leather skins that Uncle Press had made me put on, but on her, they looked pretty good because she had an amazing body. She had to be an athlete or something. Seriously, this girl was cut like an Olympic sprinter. No fat, all muscle, totally awesome. And she was tall, maybe a few inches taller than me. If I saw her at home, I'd guess she was of African descent, but this wasn't home.
Oh, you could have stopped there. I feel like I got the picture, dude.
And then to describe Asa, this is Mark's description. Standing there, lit by soft moonlight streaming in through the window, was a woman. She was tall and dark skinned. She wore a colorful wrap that draped off one shoulder, revealing an incredibly taut, muscular arm. She looked to Mark to be a beautiful African queen. Uh,
And did she point at the hentai and go, "What the fuck is that, young man? You are a loser."
You fucking loser. Maybe I should give this ring to somebody else. Yeah, I don't know. Neither here nor there. It's not like the worst way to describe somebody, but he seemed to really be trying to avoid saying black, or I guess he just kept saying of African descent. Africa's a big place. A lot of people there that look different, but so they he meets them, and they are a mother-daughter duo. Asa, very chill, very cool. Lore hates him. Hates him in the way that you know she's going to come to respect him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I don't remember if that's this book. I think they part as friends, right?
Yeah, no, they don't part. They get into a car together at the end.
Oh, I do not
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah, no,
because
well-
she is not in the next like 3 or 4 books.
What?
You go to her. Yeah, no, she's gone for several books. They talk about her a lot, but he doesn't like fully reunite with her until the
This is
6th
long
book.
for the sake of being long.
Yeah, the next book they meet Aquaman.
like it's fine. 200 pages shorter. Like,
Maybe
cut
cut
it in.
all the Mark. Cut out
Literally,
Mark and
why
his
not?
hentai.
Why not? I don't know why they're there.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't. So I think Mark is important after the point I stopped reading, which is 6 books in.
That's insane.
I think I read on like a wiki he develops like some sort of robot, and Saint Dane is like his school bully for some reason.
What?
I was like, that's a bridge too stupid for me. I'm sorry. So Mark does not become
the pacing
important.
is insane.
The
pacing is actually insane. I don't understand what he's going for at all with the structure of this like letter crap. So he meets Asa and Lore, and he finds out that Press is going to be executed by the knights tomorrow. He's filled in a little bit, but only a little bit, because God forbid anyone make clear what is going on at any point in time.
Did you talk about what was his name? Alder?
Alder's not there yet.
Oh, okay.
So he's filled in a little bit. There's two tribes of people. Actually, there's way more than 2 tribes of people in this world, but there's 2 tribes we're primarily concerned about today. There's the Bedouin and the Milago. And the Bedouin are evil, decadent slavers, and the Milago are the abused slave caste
who shit in where they sleep.
Yeah, everything sucks for them. They don't have metal tools except in the mines where they're forced to work. And if they don't bring up so Bobby witnesses the exchange or the transfer, the something ritual, where basically Saint Dane rides up on a horse. He's here too. I guess he survived the gunfight. And
you can't kill him. I think Bobby murders him in a later book, and he just gets back up.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what all that karate and whatever that he was learning in the 6th book, he then kicks Saint Dane's ass, and then Saint Dane is like, well, I mean, I can't die, so like...
No, we can keep doing this until you're ready to stop.
All right, you don't have to die. I'll put you in a prison.
I mean, I could just keep shooting you, and
I could put you in an oxygen deficient environment.
Yeah. Let's get creative with this.
We'll put you in an oven. Yeah. Keep regenerating in there, asshole.
Yeah. The sun. We could throw you into the sun. We are space travelers. So he watches the transfer, and what happens at the transfer is they have to mine what the fuck? Glaze? I think it's called glaze.
Okay. I remember tack.
Yeah, you remember tack because tack has a use. Glaze, unclear what the purpose of it is.
It looks pretty, I think.
That may well be all there is to it. They have to bring up a person's weight in glaze every day. Or if they come in under, they kill that person. And they pick a big dude who's got a lot of kids. And
what the fuck?
Yeah.
What? I like how they throw in that detail. He also has a lot of kids. Great.
I threw it in the way they threw it in. Picks a big dude who's got a lot of kids, and they didn't bring up enough. I already forgot glaze to meet his body weight, and so they kill him. And then his wife is sitting there crying.
Got him.
And then tomorrow they got to bring up her body weight in glaze, or they'll kill her, make those kids orphans.
Why are
you better believe
your workers? What?
The next day,
what if you just better kill everyone? Who's going to mine then?
all of those kids' weight combined, or I'm throwing them in too.
Oh, they throw them in?
Yeah, they throw them in a hole.
Oh.
But it's really far down, so they crunch at the bottom.
Nice.
Yeah. Presumably they're landing on like the shattered bones of other people too. So they might
Are we sure we want to prevent a civil war? It sounds like I'm all for the civil war. Let's take out the Bedouins.
Yeah, that actually comes up a little bit. So, there's a lot, like, I'm gonna yada yada a little. So, Bobby and Lore continue to not get along. Bobby continues to not understand anything about what's going on. He just wants to go home because, again, no one has told him anything about what's going on. They're like, Bobby, you got to prevent this civil war. You're the only one who can. You're meant to do it. And Bobby's like, I have literally no idea where to even begin with that task. And it's insane that you think it's my responsibility.
Okay, bye.
I was kidnapped and brought here against my will. And this is literally insane. I don't even feel bad running away because it's insane that you would put this on me. And you have not mentioned a single reason why it should be put on me other than it's on you. Like, you got to do it because you got to do it. Because it is assigned to you to do it. Who assigned it? Well, I can't tell you that right now, Bobby. It's better if you just see it for yourself. Okay, well, what am I supposed to do? Well, I don't know, Bobby. It's better if you just do it for yourself. Could you just stop the Civil War already, Bobby? Laura's going to kick your ass if you don't stop the Civil War. Laura's wondering why you're here too. You can't even fight. And Bobby's
I can lay up a sick basketball, okay?
Oh no, Bobby's very honest about his powers here. Bobby's like, look, if this were a popularity contest, if this were a whose dad has more money contest, if this was a basketball game at a freshman level in a suburb outside of New York City, I'd be right there, man. I'm the best guy in my crappy school's basketball team. If you got Courtney Chetwynd out here, she is so good. She plays with the guys.
Oh my god.
I think maybe you should get Courtney Chetwynd out here, and I'll just go home. Or anyone, or like a big dude from my world.
A big dude, just a guy who's
Henry
really
Kissinger's
big.
still trucking. It's 2002. Get Henry Kissinger in here. He'll stop a civil war or start one. I don't know. It's a mixed bag with him.
Mixed bag.
So my point is, the Second Earth is filled with people, literally billions of people, almost all of them more qualified to handle this situation than myself. So it's really unfair, to be honest, that you're putting me in the position of having to defuse a civil war among two varying groups of people I can't even understand. That's another thing. He can't understand them until he has to listen without hearing, or some Zen like koan she gives him that doesn't make any sense. And eventually when they get emotional, like when he hears the woman begging for her husband's life, that's when he understands them. The key to unlocking his language abilities was trauma. And that's what Bobby learns. Bobby's a traveler with a capital T. And the travelers are these people. Every world has one except when they have two. And the travelers, they can travel, you see, from world to world, stopping Saint Dane.
Yep.
And they're like, he's like, well, who's Saint Dane? What's so special about him? And they're like, oh, Bobby, it's really better if you just see for yourself who Saint Dane is and what his evil plans are. I can't even, they're so evil, Bobby. I can't even put them into words. And like, I think it's just more interesting for the reader if we don't reveal all that up front, Bobby. I mean, you're writing these journals for an audience. So he doesn't tell anyone anything about anything. Nobody does. Asa's a little better, but then she dies.
Got him. I don't remember. I think she gets arrowed.
Yeah, so Bobby gets jumped by a bunch of knights from Bedouin, And Asa and Lore fight him off. Asa's like, take Bobby and run. You got to protect Bobby at all costs. So it all started when they found a villager with an arrow in his face. And these 4 knights attack noticeably. And like, even I was thinking this. I'm not a warrior, by the way. But I was thinking, I'm fighting 4 knights. None of them seem to have bows. And then she beats those 4 knights and is immediately shot full of arrows by all the guys in the trees with bows.
Yeah.
And then the guys in
Sounds
the
about
trees,
right to me.
the guys in the trees with bows, then inexplicably and not before, start shooting at Bobby and Lore, but they're already in the woods. So
It took time for them to set up, Ben.
okay. I mean, they already killed the villager, so it feels like they were set up when you got there. Also,
it was the way it was
unclear
meant to be, Ben.
Unclear why they killed the villager, other than because they knew they needed a dramatic reveal.
Hey everyone, it's Nate on a really crappy microphone that seems to pick up everything. We're just going to have to deal with it. So this was not originally going to be a 2-parter, but Ben just kept talking and I was here for it. So this is going to end up being a 2-parter to the delight of one person, and that's me. Anyway, special thanks to our patrons. That would be Jamie, the Gravy Man. And of course, my cat won't leave me alone now that I'm recording. If you want, thegravy.wordpress.com. Then you've got John Bierce, a real author of The Mage Errant and The Rack and others. You've got Isekai Sensei Sama, that time I got reincarnated in the same world as an anime podcaster podcast. And last but not least, Shy with Y, who you can follow on TikTok until it gets banned forever. So see you next week with more of this.
You gotta. Did you hear there was a call between Joe Biden and a bunch of Democrats?
And Donald Trump? Oh.
No, one of them just straight up like called him senile and told him to quit. And he got all mad, but he wasn't talking real good.
And
it was just
yelling
kinda
at the wrong
sad.
person.
Yeah. And apparently the call ended with a bunch of people going, Jesus Christ, we're all fucked.